NFL Sunday on TSN 690, nothing sweeter. He's Eric Thomas, I'm Matthew Ross. Stefano Micella also here in studio helping us out. Sean Coleman on the board.
Nothing finer than North Carolina.
Ooh. Well, he's picking Carolina. I'm picking San Francisco today. And, we have a third person here in the studio. Stefano, you've been helping us throughout the season. What is your pick? You got to settle the tiebreak here.
Well, we said on Tuesday that our theory was that the NFL's dream matchups would be Denver and New England and Seattle and San Francisco. I'm going to go with the 49ers here because I don't think Steve Smith is quite 100%, despite how many times he turns and catches a ball in the end zone to try to make people think he's 100%.
In preseason, yeah. Pregame, yeah.
In pregame. So I'm going to go with the 49ers here. I think they just have more weapons on offense than Carolina does.
Right.
Ruthless.
Yeah, I guess. You know what? I think last week was the anomaly with 3 road teams winning. I think this week all 4 home teams win.
Wow. All right.
It seems whenever they make a big deal out of something, the opposite happens.
Right.
All right, let's go to that other home team. That would be the Denver Broncos. They're hosting San Diego today in Denver. And of course, everything centers around Peyton Manning. And these two teams have played each other twice already this year. Once in San Diego, where Denver was victorious. Once on a Thursday night a few weeks ago in Denver, where San Diego was an 11-point dog, and they were victorious. Now, obviously, a lot of people are talking about the fact that the only 2 times Denver was held under 400 yards this year was against San Diego. So a little bit of confidence, big boost for the Chargers knowing what they can do to that Denver offense coming into the game. Couple of interesting tidbits here. Ryan Matthews practiced very little this week, ankle injury. However, he will play today. Also, another interesting aspect to Matthews, he actually led the league in carries over the last 5 weeks. And you think about this guy in his history in the NFL, always injured or missing bunches of games or parts of games. And that's a nice trend for him to stay healthy, and he's starting to reverse that a little bit. Also, back off a concussion, Wes Welker will suit up for the Broncos today, although personally, as a Bronco fan and as an NFL fan, I worry for a guy like that. So small, going over the middle regularly. He hasn't played now in 5 weeks. What's the timing going to be between him and Manning? Nonetheless, if he can give them anything, he will be huge today for the Denver Broncos.
Let me throw a name out there, Matt, because you're talking about Wes Welker. Percy Harvin. How are Seattle Seahawks fans feeling right now with the future of Percy Harvin in jeopardy and their team headed to the NFC Championship? I think you would have much rather sat him out 1 more week, 2 more weeks, another month, and see how it played out. They didn't need him yesterday, and they got the win big time.
But it seemed like no matter when he suited up, he was going to get hurt.
Well, but
this goes back. You're talking about, of course, for people who don't know, Harvin, a small electric wide receiver and returner acquired by the Seahawks prior to the season, previously with Minnesota. But he has a history of health problems.
This is true.
Came into the NFL with migraine issues, missed a lot of time in his rookie year as well. So I had him on my fantasy team. But anyway, yeah, exactly. So now you fast forward, you look at Wes Welker today, a very determined guy, a veteran who knows his body, but he wouldn't miss this game for the world. And obviously Denver needs him. Without him over the middle, they'd have to rely more on screen passes or some of the other receivers in that. Caldwell comes to mind, a 4th receiver who they've used when Welker was out earlier in the year. But in terms of this game, it'll be 47 degrees today in Denver, Fahrenheit, of course, and that is a huge upgrade over last year's divisional game against Baltimore when it was, frigid. 25-mile-per-hour winds. So that clearly favors San Diego's running game. They're running the ball more than Denver. They're having some success at it. My X factor in this game, Monty Ball, the rookie for Denver, who's been getting under the radar a lot more carries in recent weeks. Of course, no Sean Moreno getting the bulk this year for the Broncos, but Monty Ball was basically the guy who led the NCAA in carries last year, a very durable, rough back. These types of conditions really favor a guy like that. So that's a guy for me today to watch, especially maybe on goal line situations.
Yeah, Andre Caldwell did step up in that game in Wes Welker's absence about a month ago. 6 catches for 59 yards. He was the leading receiver as far as the Broncos are concerned. We know Peyton Manning's going to have a big day, but I agree. On both sides of the ball, it's going to be about the running attack. How healthy is Ryan Matthews? How much will he be able to go? You talk about the durability factor of a guy like Monty Ball. Ryan Matthews had 29 carries in this game a month ago for 127 yards and a touchdown. He was the battering ram, and if he is not as healthy, I mean, Danny Woodhead may be able to go. He had 9 carries as well, but it's just not going to be the same. On the other side of the ball, the rushing attack was nowhere to be found for the Denver Broncos in their last game. 18 yards on the ground, 8 carries for Noshawn Marino for just 19 yards. Monty Ball, 3 rushes, -1, not even in the positive. He is in the red on the day. If they are going to have any success, it's going to have to be the balance, because we know what Peyton Manning can do. But if you throw, 6, maybe even 7 in the box and let them play defense against Peyton Manning, well, then some of those balls are going to get picked off. Some of them are going to get tipped, and you're going to have bad consequences. It's whether or not Noshawn Marino and Monty Ball can be big factors in this game. That's where Denver's success will lie.
And also, of course, you go back to that Thursday night game a few weeks ago where the Chargers prevailed in Denver. They had the ball for over 38 minutes, which is almost an embarrassment to the Broncos. The Broncos were 7-1 this year at home, and that one loss was to San Diego, so a lot of revenge, I guess, on the minds for them. Overall, though, this is an interesting matchup. You look at San Diego, their defense isn't that great, but they've had some spots, some good spots the last couple of weeks. Same with the Broncos, their defense much maligned as well. San Diego 5-4 after that win last week against Cincy, 5-4 now on the road as well this year. So starting to beat good teams on the road. Everyone talks about Peyton Manning's record year, but Phillip Rivers had 32 touchdowns and only 11 interceptions and almost 70% completion percentage. So tremendous numbers for him.
Yeah, he's top 5 once again in both passing yards and passing touchdowns in the NFL. And I asked a good buddy of mine that I had on my personal show, Michael Kloss, what he thought and why he isn't getting the respect that he deserves in terms of Phillip Rivers. And he said playoff wins. That's basically what it comes down to. If you're not in the playoffs, if you're not succeeding, if you're not winning games, we look at Peyton Manning and we skew his career and his legacy in the NFL because he's only got 1 Super Bowl championship. Think about a guy like Phillip Rivers who's been gunslinging it, doing it Brett Favre style year in, year out. Brett Favre only ever had 1 ring too. So if Phillip Rivers can get over this hump here, I wouldn't put it past him to even get past the Pats and send themselves to the Super Bowl in New York.
If you're looking at a guy to keep your eye on today under the radar for San Diego, we've talked ad nauseum over the years about Antonio Gates. He's getting a little long in the tooth. A guy who showed up last week, very key touchdown for San Diego, was Ladarius Green, a young tight end, only 23 years old, but a huge body and somebody who could pose some matchup problems today for Denver. As for the Broncos, they've been the healthiest they've been all year right at this point after that bye week, of course. Still no Derek Wolfe, a guy who had a seizure a few weeks ago, and he will not play today. But Champ Bailey is a guy who missed most of the year. He played fairly well in a couple of big wins at the end of the year against lesser teams. Healthy for the first time, and they're going to use him more in a nickel setting. He's not going to be a cover corner going one-on-one on the sidelines, so he might be a guy that it's going to have to defend maybe against a Ladarius Green or an Antonio Gates over the middle. So that's another interesting matchup to watch as well. All right, so prediction time. You had San Diego last week over Cincinnati, Eric Thomas. You were the guy who went out on a limb and picked it. Who do you have today?
Yeah, give me the Broncos. There's no way that San Diego gets past another tough test, and I don't expect, especially for the 3rd time this season that these teams are facing up, that San Diego would be the victor in 2 of those. Denver Broncos have an opportunity here, and Peyton Manning as well, to kind of cement themselves as the premier team in the NFL and go against Tom Brady in another big AFC championship. I'm picking the Broncos at home. I can't stay away from that one.
I can't see the San Diego defense making the plays that the Baltimore defense made last year to send themselves to the AFC Championship. So give me the Denver Broncos at home. I expect by 7 o'clock, 7:30 tonight, Matthew Ross will be raising his arms triumphantly in the air.
I like Denver as well by about 10, 11 points. And I really, if you look at the 7-1 record at home, most of those matchups, Denver blew out the opponent. I think this time around, it's going to be the same thing. You look at San Diego, there's just not enough on the defensive side for me to think that they're going to be able to slow down the Broncos for 3 games in the NFL season. I just don't see it. You can't keep Manning down that long. That said, that wind could be a factor today. I mean, if you're Peyton Manning, you're going to have to throw a lot of short passes, and that's where a guy like Wes Welker will become very, very key today for the Denver Broncos. All right, and Sean Coleman, we're giving you a shot. You passed last week. You want to make any picks today?
I will do my best and just go with the unanimity here. Go with the Denver Broncos. I think they've seen the Chargers enough. There will be no surprises. Healthy Denver Broncos.
He's
Peyton
also
Manning
a Bronco
full
fan,
week.
by the way.
Not just. I think though, in their defense, I think the Chargers will surprise and make it a much closer game than the line is right now. I think 10 point is the spread. It's not going to be a 10-point win. It's going to be closer to 4 or 5. I think.
What about Carolina San Fran?
That one's really much up in the air. I'm going to go with San Francisco, but I do think the Carolina Panthers are going to put a very risky, aggressive effort out there. Cam Newton, first playoff game. I'm staying away from that, though.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Broncos have outscored the Chargers by just 1 point this year in the 2 combined games, but like it's been said around the table, give me the home teams all the way across this weekend. I just saw Cam Newton walking out of the tunnel and onto the field. He looks hyped. He looks ready to go. I am excited, I think, more so for this game that we're about to hear because Carolina has been flying under the radar, and the 49ers are the supreme team in the NFC right now.
NFC champs,
Absolutely.
right? You got to go through them. It's going to be a good game. One last stat to keep in mind for you here. Cam Newton against winning teams in his NFL career, 7-17. However, a few weeks ago, that record was 4-17. So nice little run for Cam Newton so far. All right, that's going to do it for us. We're going to be back for the halftime show today. On behalf of Eric Thomas, what
Was
do you got?
that a play on words? A nice little run for Cam Newton?
very
Leading rusher
nice. Didn't even think of that.
amongst QBs this season.
Should be a really, really, really good game. I can't say it enough. On behalf of everyone here at the studio, excuse me, I'm so hyped I can't wait for it. We'll see you at halftime. Enjoy Niners, Carolina. It's next.